All right, thank you so much for coming out, everybody. This is so amazing. We have an amazing turnout, around 250 people. So this is amazing. I'm sure you know, Chinese Chamber of Commerce is the host of this event, and I'm one of the board of directors. My name is Alexa Khan. I'm in charge of communication, marketing, and media. And the entire event, what it's about is film screening and speakers. And the entire reason why we're doing it is because, this is in support of AAPI community in the industry. And I think it's just so important at this time to support one another, because for the first time, it's really happening out there that, we realize that Asian-led film can do well. And, all Asian cast films also does well. And Academy Award president is Janet Yang now. So it's an amazing time. So obviously we have to take advantage of it. We have to come together and stay strong and really push one another. So that's one of the main reasons. And more importantly, really help the up-and-coming artists and students. So eventually we'll have a mentorship program. And so, coming together as a community like this is just amazing. And that's one of the reasons why I'm also got involved in this co-hosting with Nick Lam, you'll meet later. Little bit of a background, my major is finance. I was in finance, I switched over to film, and I just wish that there was a community like this back then when I first started. So this is just so important that we stay as a community. So sign up as a membership at Chinese Chamber of Commerce. There's barcodes everywhere. And let's support one another, and Gloria will go over it more. And this is our Vice President, Gloria Chang.
Thank you so much, Alexa, and thank you all of you for being here tonight. I especially want to thank our sponsors, U.S. Bank, Preferred Bank, and also Troy Gold and Alice La La Land. So we also want to recognize that we're doing this all for the future next generation. So probably a third of our turnout tonight are students of film from Emerson College and other UCLA and USC Film School. So really, this is paving the way. We thought about what we could do, what we were missing when we were your age and about to graduate and enter a career like this. So we hope that tonight is just the start of your ability to make connections, mingle, meet other industry deal makers, and hear from some really amazing speakers that we've got prepared tonight. So a little bit about Chinese Chamber. Alexa and I were doing some history work back in May this year when we were celebrating AAPI Heritage Month. And the Chamber has actually been around since 1898. And I was not aware of this myself, but initially when the first wave of Chinese immigrants came to Los Angeles, they were the ones that worked on the railroads here. They were the ones that couldn't claim rights to land, didn't have the ability to be recognized as true citizens of this country. And they took the jobs that no one wanted to do. They worked in the mines and all the remnant jobs that pretty much no other American would do. And I think, when I think back to how Chinatown started as well, that was also an immigrant community. People came and they started laundromats, fruits and vegetable stands. They started restaurants. They did whatever they could to earn a living. And as we've evolved into the second generation, many of us are second gen, third gen, our community has also evolved. And so our mission as the Chamber has always been about creating business connections for small business owners, professional industry, whether you're a doctor or lawyer or accountant, a lot of these in the 1950s and 70s, all the way through to the early 2000s that thrived. But I think this new generation, what we found is everyone graduating wants to be in the creative economy, or you want to be your own entrepreneur, or you want to just follow your dreams irrespective of what your father or mother's generation really wanted to pave the way for. And so I I really wanted to just say that I'm so thrilled that we could launch this brand new series focused just on the creative economy, film, and entertainment. We branded it all under Crazy X Asians because we started with Crazy Entrepreneurial Asians featuring small business community. Then we had Crazy Stylish Asians, which is something we always do for Mother's Day. And it's a fundraiser where we deploy all the profits back into the community. And then we had Crazy Funny Asians, which we've done twice this year, and we'll probably do a holiday mixer. We've got our whole production cast there of AAPI comedians, things that are what our generation might have thought as unconventional, non-traditional industries, but we really want this to be the future of AAPI community being able to pursue their dreams and do whatever they want and be recognized for that. And so representation in mainstream media and in Hollywood is so important for changing stereotypes and especially changing the way we view our community of allies as well, beyond just the AAPI community. So with that, I wanted to encourage everyone on membership. It is $50 for the balance of the year through to the end of 2023 if you're a student. And general membership is $125. It's just a special for tonight only. And we welcome you to be a part of our community. You get access to a lot of members-only events. You get to co-promote and be a part of this community and do small business networking events amongst this group, and also have discounted membership offers to all of our events like that I just mentioned. So without further ado, I really wanted to bring up the star of tonight and the man who put this all together. It's our newest board member, Nick Lam, if you'll join me on stage. Come on up. So Nick is homegrown talent right here in Los Angeles, went to USC Film School. Tonight is really the hard work and heart and soul of everything he wanted to put together. So really, I just wanted to recognize him. He's a very celebrated film director himself, having worked globally on brand campaigns with Samsung, Google, Nestle, Procter & Gamble, the list goes on. Worked with celebrated entertainers like Blink-182, Elton John, Jojo Siwa, just to name a few. And he's been recognized by MTV VMA Awards, the Cannes Film Festival. He's been published with Billboard, Billboard, Vogue, Maxim. See, I can't even remember. The list goes on. But anyway, I wanted to just acknowledge you, and it's an honor and privilege to have you as our newest board member, and all the amazing stuff you've got planned for us tonight. Thanks so much.
Hey everyone, how's everyone doing tonight? Awesome, thank you everyone for coming out. So my name's Nick, and I'll just briefly speak a little bit about me and tonight's program, and then we'll get to the meat and potatoes, which is why everyone's really here. For me, it's always been extremely important in my career to break stereotypes about Asians, and the way I choose to do that is through visibility. Equity, representation, because visibility ultimately leads to ubiquity. Ubiquity ultimately makes us not the other and become the norm. And that's when we achieve true parity, true acceptance, and that's the goal of events like this, is to celebrate the biggest talents from our community in the entertainment space. And so that's very much the goal for the Crazy Creative Asians brand, is to just celebrate people from our community who are doing big things and are pushing the culture and representation forward. So I just want to, there will be what we're watching tonight is going to be a highlights reel of some of the best work from our panelists. Everyone here, I assume, has probably read and gone through the Eventbrite. You've probably read their bios, but if you haven't, I just want to give you a quick rundown of the amazing panelists we have tonight. First up, we have Kelly Hu. Kelly was crowned Miss Teen USA in 1985, becoming the first Asian American to ever win the title. She entered the entertainment industry, landing roles in features like Oliver Stone's The Doors, No Way Back, opposite Russell Crowe, on Aaron Spelling's series Sunset Beach, CBS's Martial Law, and Nass Bridges. Kelly has since starred in major studio films as The Scorpion King, X2, X-Men United, Cradle to the Grave, List of a Lifetime, and Finding Ohana, and on numerous TV series including CSI New York, Army Wives, Vampire Diaries, Warehouse 13, Arrow, and Oroville, and will be starring in the upcoming TV series BMF for Stars. We next have Andy Cheng. Andy Cheng was born in Hong Kong, and he began as a member of Jackie Chan's stunt team, choreographing fight scenes in movies such as Mr. Nice Guy, Who Am I?, Shanghai Noon, Rush Hour 1 and Rush Hour 2. He has gone on to direct stunts for The Scorpion King and The Rundown, featuring The Rock. If you don't follow his Instagram, you should. It's amazing. And lent his talents to directors like Peter Berg, Terrence Malick, Michael Bay, Wes Craven, and Destin Daniel Cretton on the Marvel blockbuster Shang-Chi. Andy's directorial debut came in 2005 with Endgame, starring Cuba Gooding Jr., James Woods, and Burt Reynolds, and the action feature Redline, starring comedians Eddie Griffin and Tim Matheson. Leo Chu. Leo Chu is the showrunner and executive producer of the new live-action series Ultraviolet and Black Scorpion, Disney's first Latinx superhero show. Leo burst onto the television scene as EP and showrunner of the adult action series Afro Samurai, starring Samuel L. Jackson, Ron Perlman, and Kelly Hu. The show was the first anime ever to win a Primetime Emmy and spawned a sequel called Afro Samurai Resurrection, starring Samuel L. Jackson and Lucy Liu. In 2011, he served as creator, EP, and showrunner of the Emmy-winning live-action show Super Ninjas, for which he also won a WGA award. Leo wrote and produced the anime feature Batman Ninja for Warner Brothers, which was named one of the best animes of 2018. He is the writer of the adaptation of My Neighbors the Yamadas, and story consultant on Hayao Miyazaki's Oscar-winning masterpiece, Spirited Away, both for Disney and Studio Ghibli. Christopher Tin. Christopher Tin is a two-time Grammy-winning composer whose music has been performed at Lincoln Center, Kennedy Center, Hollywood Bowl, the United Nations, and Carnegie Hall. His song Baba Yetu, written for the video game Civilization 4, is the first piece of music written for a video game ever to win a Grammy Award. His debut album, Calling All Dawns, won a second Grammy in 2011 for Best Classical Crossover Album, and his follow-up release, The Drop That Contained the Sea, debuted at #1 on Billboard's classical charts. His film work includes features as Crazy Rich Asians, Sausage Party, X2, X-Men United, and Hoodwinked 2, Hood vs. Evil. I know, laughs from Sausage Party, right? And scores for Suddenly 17, Tess, Dante's Inferno, and Dead Space Aftermath. His video game work includes acclaimed music for AAA titles as Civilization 4 and Civilization 6, Rise of Kingdoms, Moonlight Blade, World of Xianxia 2, and PGA 2K21. Alexa Khan, who we heard from a little bit earlier. Alexa Khan produced the epic The Steed, Mongolia's official entry to the 2019 Academy Awards. Other films she has produced have picked up awards at San Diego International Film Festival, Palm Springs International Film Festival, Goa International Film Festival, and were featured in The Hollywood Reporter, Golden Globes, and Variety. Recent works include the 10-episode series Wolf Warriors and the feature Aberrance, which won the Audacity Award at this year's Oldenburg Film Festival in Germany. She serves on the board of the directors of the Chinese Chamber of Commerce LA and was selected as the next generation leader in the Committee 100. And last but not least, we have Trevor Morgan Doyle. This is Alexa's producing partner. He is best known for producing Finland's first superhero film, Rendell, Dark Vengeance. Rendell was both a commercial success and a multi-award-winning festival darling, achieving international notoriety at Cannes and the genre giant Ferratum Film Festival in Mexico City, where it won Best Action Feature. More recently, Trevor produced Mongolia's entry to the Oscars and Emmys, The Steed. The film won Best Picture at the San Diego International Film Festival and won the Spirit of Cinema Award at Oldenburg International Film Festival. Other feature films of note from his career are Sergei Bodrov's Mongol, The Rise of Genghis Khan, starring Tadanobu Asano, DJ Caruso's Disturbia, starring Shia LaBeouf, and Deborah Kampmeyer's Hound Dog, starring David Morse and Dakota Fanning. Please. How about another big hand for our speakers? So Leo,
Yes.
in a few
Yes.
words, how did you know this was what you wanted to do?
You know, to be honest, I didn't. Like what I'm doing now, I didn't know that the job existed. I'm a showrunner for television and a writer, and I didn't realize, I think, as a kid that things were written and that there was actually this job that existed. For people who don't know, like a television showrunner, you're basically the head producer and the head writer for a television series. And it's kind of weird, like as I was stuck in traffic driving over here, I was thinking about like how much TV I've actually made over the years and realized I've made 98 episodes of television that I've written and produced. And thank you. Though my Chinese mom would say, why isn't it 100? And 2 movies. So that's been really nice. I think as a kid, I've always loved telling stories. Like I was the little boy who was just making up stuff all the time, you know, and I like grab my friends and we do little plays and all these, you know, all that sort of stuff. And then as I got older, I think, you know, I didn't find it as like something I was encouraged to do necessarily. I went to college as a chemical engineering pre-med. The chemical engineering was the fallback career in case the doctor thing didn't work out. And my parents were just like, this is what you're gonna be doing. And I remember I had a huge mental breakdown doing organic chemistry, which is very hard. And I called my mom crying. My mom's actually an organic chemist, so this is, yeah. And trying to explain to her this is what I want to do. And I think she was really, really nervous about it. And the person that surprised me the most was actually my dad. And he, you know, he's very typical Chinese dad. He's kind of emotionally removed from a lot of things, but he was so supportive. And he's like, son, you need to go pursue your dreams. You have to do this. And, you know, I cried more, and I'm a big crier, I guess. And then moved down to Los Angeles, and my first job was as an intern for Disney. I got people bagels for breakfast, and I was so good, they made me an executive. Executive bagel getter, and started working on animated films at Disney. The first thing I ever worked on, so this will age me a little bit, was the animated Mulan.
Wait a minute, okay. You got to tell your story about the emails.
Oh, my email. Okay, so.
I know Leo very well.
So she knows. So this is how I started getting jobs. So I figured out pretty early on that everybody's email is basically their first dot last name at where they work. So I just emailed like everybody. I emailed every producer, everybody, and anybody who would meet with me. And one of the people I met with was Chris Lee, who was the president of Columbia TriStar at the time. And he's from Hawaii. I know there's a lot of Hawaii people here. And he basically agreed to meet with me. First of all, he was like, how'd you get my email? I was like, oh. And I remember him showing up, and he pulled up in his, 7 Series BMW and his Prada suit and all this stuff. He's a studio exec. And I was in my shorts and my Birkenstocks and my, like at the time I was really into raving, so I had a big happy face necklace on. And I think he took one look at me and he was like, I have 30 minutes for dinner. And I was like, okay, but we ended up chatting for like 3 hours. And then he set me up with his internship at Disney. And that's how I got started.
Wow, that's quite a start.
Same question? How did I get started?
Yeah.
I was kind of always wanting attention. And
Shocker.
so I would, as a toddler, I would like perform on my neighbor's like stoop and pretend, that I was, like performing in shows and everything. So I was kind of born with wanting to be an actor my entire life. And my mom tried to convince me not to do it. And, I also wanted to be a ballerina. And so she was like, you like to talk, you should be a lawyer. And so I was like, okay, I'll be a lawyer and a part-time ballerina. And then, I ended up getting scouted as a model for Japan back in the 80s, when dinosaurs roamed the earth. And they were all looking for like girls that were mixed to go, what we call hapahaole in Hawaii, and girls to go to Japan. And, girls were going over for like a summer and making like $20,000 and putting down payment on a house. And I was like, I got to get in on this. So I got scouted at the mall like everyone did, and I started working as a model, and my agent told me that if I got a title in a pageant, that they could promote me better when I go to Japan, and because they like titles over there for some reason, because I guess they didn't have pageants in Japan back then. And so I ran in the first pageant that didn't require any talent, and that was the Miss Teen USA, Miss Hawaii Teen USA pageant. So all I needed was a local title, and that's all I was going for. And then after winning the Hawaii title, which wasn't too hard because I think there were only like 7 girls, I went. Part of the obligation was to compete in the national title, and I thought, oh great, I'll get to be on television if I make the top 10. So I was like, please, I just want to make the top 10 and not fall on my butt. And so I ended up winning the national pageant completely unexpectedly. And thank you. You guys act like it was such an accomplishment. It was pure luck. But that kind of gave me the opportunity monetarily, and having the organization had just moved to Los Angeles, and so I felt like it was a way for me to sort of try my hand at acting. And then also I didn't want to go to college. Sorry, we're at Emerson College. I get it. But I got my very first break in Hawaii. I got cast on Growing Pains as Kirk Cameron's love interest. And before the show even aired, I moved to Los Angeles and announced that I was now available for West Coast representation. I took out a full-page ad in Variety because I had all that pageant money, yeah? And so I took out a full-page ad in Variety the day that the show aired and did a mass mailing, and I got 20 calls from different agents looking to sign the Asian girl, because back then there were no Asian girls. There were no Asian actors, hardly. I couldn't say no because Tia Carrera was here, Tamlin Tomita was here, but that's it. There were 3 of us. And so I got to sign with my agent right away, and I've just been lucky enough to work ever since.
Hi everyone. My name is Andy Chang. I'm from Hong Kong. So what were we supposed to answer? I answered it. How I get in this? Okay. Honestly, when I'm young, I don't know what I want to do. I just know I learned Kung Fu, martial art. I learned Taekwondo. And then we met high school. When I see movie, but I have no clue what is movie, what's entertainment. I think a lot of people, even today, still don't understand what is fight choreographer, what is coordinator, what is director, what they're doing. I assume people don't know. So same thing like me when I high school, I don't know. So I know movie is very cool. And then I remember when I in high school, one movie hit my head. It's like, wow, really cool. Is Jackie Chan, the first movie called Police Story. If you guys see that, So he have a scene, he chased the bus. He running down to the hill on the hillside, but he not slide down, he running down. And that hill is I go up. I live there. It's the village, we live in close by, and I slide with the cardboard. Then I say, wow, that's exactly the hill every day after school I go. I say, I can do what he's doing, so I should do movie. So that's my first one. I think, oh, Jackie Chan, he's doing running down the hill. So long story short, so I start thinking, okay, I can do what Jackie Chan can do. So, but funny thing is I focus on Taekwondo, and then end up I fight for Taekwondo. And I had one opportunity the TV company in Hong Kong is like CBS here. It's called TVB. So they open up the martial artist class. So I'm take a chance, and then they pick me. And then I thought, from now on I can be a martial artist, like arting, So I try to be Jackie Chan. I really try, and I do many TV series in there. We sign contract with them, so we work for like a worker. We not work for one show. We work for the company. So whatever show today I'm the soldier, tomorrow I'm police, next day I'm the thief or whatever I do. But I did acting, but then I remember back then we have 3 cameras on the stage, and then the director is on the panel up there picking camera. So camera 1, so we picking camera, and I do the scene and say, my soldier all dies, and I report to the king, say, King, everyone die, and I'm come back, and then the king say, so everyone die, why you come back? So you should die, so you are the betrayed. So take him out and kill him. So then the guy pulled me out, and I say, don't kill me, don't kill me. I remember I just say these 2 lines, very simple. Right? Don't kill me, don't kill me. And then upstairs, the director in Chinese, right? Say, F your mother, you suck. And I say, you cannot. I say, oh, sorry. So I try to be scared, but I'm not scared. So, but then when he start yelling at me, and then I start, oh shit. I realize, and then the guy next to me is a new actor. I'm a new stuntman. He's a new actor. I'm trying to be acting. And then he say, come down. It's okay, it's okay. And then whatever they yell, and then end up the scene's done. Then after that, I realized acting is not you thinking that easy. So from that on, I quit. I say, okay, I don't think I can act. So from that on, I say, okay, let's focus on stunt. So then I start focus on stunt and stunt double. So one opportunity after stuck in the company for almost 7 years. One opportunity, I got a phone call from Australia, from the Hong Kong coordinator, say, hey, you want to come here to work for Jackie Chan? I say, yes, for sure I want, because of him. Right? So I go to 1996. I went to Australia, work for Jackie Chan, the movie called Mr. Nice Guy. So from that, we get along, so I start work for him, and then he bring me into, his stunt team. So then after Mr. Nice Guy, I come to America with him with the Rush Hour, and then that's how I meet Kelly, because right after I did the Rush Hour, the director did the pilot for martial law. His name is Stanley Tong, and he asked Jackie Chan, because I belong Jackie, so he asked Jackie, hey, can I borrow Andy for the pilot? So then I went to come back for the martial law, the pilot, but then I stuck. After that, they pick up, before we finish the pilot, we pick up the series, remember? So we have 22 episodes, and from that on, I just stick here, and then I stay here, and I decide to move to America, because I see, when you do movie, Hollywood is the biggest, market. So, and I, you still hear me, my English very sucks, but, So I come to here because I try to learn the culture, I want to learn the language, and I see the opportunity because right after Rush Hour is a Matrix and Rush Hour at the same time. So they're all suddenly like a big wave, like, wow, Hong Kong action. So I see the opportunity. I say, I stay here, I possibly have a chance. But then once I try, then I just stick here 20-some years. So that will be, my story. And then the lucky is, I look at Jackie Chan do police story, end up I do what Jackie Chan do. Everything he do, I do for him first, So I'm testing for him. I'm very happy, very fortunate, So that's how I got my job today. So.
Very cool. Oh, you guys can keep it in the front row. They have Chris.
Hi, hello.
Yep.
Hi. So I guess the question is how we first realized that we wanted to do what we do. I think it's when I realized I wasn't good at anything else. And so by process of elimination, I became a composer. That's partially true. I mean, I actually grew up playing piano, trumpet, bass, and jazz bands, things like that. I was one of these people who's just sort of really really interested in a lot of different aspects of creativity. And what I ultimately really realized is every room I went in, there was always someone who was a better actor or a better writer or a better director or a better artist or something that, than I was. But my true calling was composing, and I decided to go into it. And actually, originally I wanted to be a musical theater composer because this was like, the 90s, and shows like Les Miserables were really, really popular, and I really loved that show, and I wanted to write Les Miserables, that type of show. But then in college, I got a real taste of orchestral composing and film scoring in particular. I think it was when I first heard the Jurassic Park soundtrack by John Williams that I sort of fell in love with the medium. I went to London on a Fulbright scholarship to study at the Royal College of Music. So I really wanted to get a proper classical education. And that actually became a cornerstone of my career today. Like, I do a lot of work in England. My managers are over there. My publishers are over there, and so forth. I broke into the business a similar way that Leo did, and actually cold calling, which is a real art, right? But I'm trying to rack my memory because I think I may have been inspired to do this by your story, because I heard Leo speak at Stanford years ago, and I heard his email story, and it just rang a bell when he told it. But the way I broke in is actually I reached out to the top film composers in LA, and this is in 2000. And email was a thing, but I didn't have access to their email addresses or anything. So I wrote a letter and a package, and I sent it to all the agencies, all the agents of all the big composers, and I said, hi, I'm Christopher Tin. I just moved to town. I was actually the recipient of a Fulbright scholarship to the Royal College of Music. And the Fulbright Commission wrote me a nice introductory letter on government letterhead that said, Christopher Tin is a mentee or a graduate of our program and is looking for a mentor. And on behalf of the US government, would you be interested in mentoring, that sort of thing, right? Real heavyweight package. But the other thing is, and this is what really sealed the deal, I didn't actually include any of my music or anything like that. But what I did include was a self-addressed postcard that said, Dear Christopher, sure, I'd be glad to chat with you. The best way to reach me is blank. The best time to reach me is blank. Sincerely, John Williams, or Hans Zimmer, or whatever, right? So I made it as easy as possible for anyone to possibly get back in touch with me to let me, talk to them, right? And I never asked for more than like 15 minutes at a time. Very courteous, very respectful. I got 9 responses out of 27, so that's a pretty good conversion rate. And one of my first jobs was as a ghostwriter on X-Men 2. And what we just determined backstage is that basically all roads in this industry lead back to Kelly. She's kind of like the hub for our community. So now I actually do a lot of concert music now. I'm signed to Universal Music on their Decca label. I'm a classical artist on Decca. I have an album coming out next week called The Lost Birds. Check it out. The other half of my career is scoring, so I do a lot of film, but I actually do a ton of video games, and I'm probably most known for my score to Civilization, which Trevor plays, actually. So I wrote the theme songs for Civilization. See, there's Civ players everywhere, I swear to God, right? Games are a great business to get into. Anyway, we're not talking about that today, but maybe another panel. Here you go.
I think mine's on. Okay.
It's a small community, as everyone's finding out.
I was working at the National Board of Antiquities in Finland as an archaeologist, and that's not where you're expecting that to start, right? So I was working there, and my girlfriend at the time was Sami. They're circumpolar reindeer herding people, and both of her parents got sick, and they were going to lose their herd of reindeer. And so I went up north, and I got registered as a reindeer herder, and I lived on the Norwegian border between Finland and Norway. And it was really interesting. It was a fascinating experience. And there was this one meeting place, and I was meeting World War II veterans, and they were talking to me, and they kept mentioning this woman who had saved all of the villages. And I was like, after like the third time they mentioned it, I was like, was she a soldier? And they're like, no, she's not a soldier. And I was like, well, what do you mean she saved the villages? And then they told me this insane story about this woman who'd been the postmaster for all of the villages up in the north when the Germans were occupying Finland and the Russians were at the border. And basically what happened was the Russians told the Finns they had to get rid of the Germans. And nobody in Finland actually knew this was happening, but all of the adults in the villages had already left to go fight. So it was just children and livestock. And so this woman, she organized the teenagers and the children, and under cover of night, she left with all of the livestock and the children and went to Sweden. And then the Germans burned everything to the ground. And when the families came back, the parents came back, they thought their kids were dead and they thought everything was, and then a year later, she magically reappears with the kids and everything. And she literally, all of the villages in the north were saved by this one woman. And I heard the story and I was like, this can't like die here. This story's got to be told. So I contacted somebody down south. I knew nothing about filmmaking, about how to do this, but I got a camera and I did some research footage, and I got to meet these amazing people. Eiley was still alive. I got to talk with her, and when I was done, I was like, this is a lot more interesting than archaeology for me. And I never stopped after that. Just looking for the stories, and there's so many amazing people out there in the world and so many stories to tell, and I just want to make sure that I have a chance to help get those stories out there.
That's amazing. I got chills.
So we're sharing questions, so I was skipping myself, but I'll tell it. But it's not as cool as all of these people here. So I grew up just liking stage, kind of like Kelly Hu, but just like Asian family and parents, I've decided to pursue finance, and I came to the U.S. I'm originally from Mongolia, and I came to the U.S., studied finance, and I was in finance for 7 years. But every day I was sitting at work, it's just like I just felt like there's something out there. There's something that I can do more. And I was at UBS, and they're like, "Oh, you're making a giant difference in people's lives, and you're making a big difference in this person's life." And I was like, "But I want to be able to reach out to more." I mean, I'm not knocking any of that profession, but it just felt like I need to tell a story. I need to get out there and reach out to a community in an artistic way. So I kept telling this, I have this urge, and I have this urge. And then my husband's like, "Well, you have to do something about it. Like, just do it." And so it took me 2 years to quit. And then I switched over to film, and I had no idea what I was doing. There's no community like this. And I was just going out and meeting people. And I met Trevor. I met one of my camp teacher who became super famous actor and director. And then we formed the company. So that's how that's how it started.
Awesome. All right, so real talk now. What's the hardest part about your job?
I would say the hardest. You just handed it right to me, so I have to go for it. Okay. I think the hardest part about my job is that things end. Especially working in television, very few TV shows actually get to complete their runs, on their own. On their own volition or by their own choice. And at some point, the shows get canceled, right? So you kind of go into it knowing that it's going to end and that you probably won't be in control of when it ends. And I think that is probably the hardest thing on the television side, because for me, there's a creative part of it. Yes, you want to continue the story, you want to be able to end the story, but then you also have to say goodbye to all these people who you've come to know who've become like a work family for you. And sometimes that could be a year of time. Sometimes that can be 2 years of time. Sometimes that could be 4 years as you've been working with these people, and suddenly it's over. And then you have to start all over again, and you have to paddle out. There's I'm going to use a surfing analogy, but I don't surf, so this might not make sense. It's like, you catch that big wave, right? And then the wave is over, and then you got to paddle out again in the water, and I guess kind of go and then catch the next wave, and you do it over and over and over again. And it's hard to not get exhausted by that, but then you have to find what inspires you and keeps you going.
Same question for everybody? I think the hardest part for me as an actor, and I think for a lot of actors, is just believing in yourself after so much, after so many auditions and after so many negatives and not getting the jobs, and just being able to believe in yourself and still love the craft without letting the business, stab you in the neck. Really, because that's what it feels like, right? Every time you get an audition and you put your, especially when it's something that you really, really want. I just had an experience not even a year ago, a few months ago, where I was reading for this big project that was being cast in Hawaii for a 50-year-old woman who speaks pidgin English. And I was like, if I don't get this, I'm quitting the business. And I didn't get it. But it's stuff like that you're just like, how the hell do I go on? My agent, my manager was literally like, okay, you cannot quit, like talking me off the ledge, and that happens a lot as an actor. I think just maintaining that drive and wanting to continue in this business after so many rejections.
So this is a personal or business? Like about the business, maybe two different things, for hardest me, in the business side, it's like, when I'm working as a fight coordinator or action guy, I think the hardest thing is the actor have to do the acting, fighting. Some actor or actress, it doesn't matter. The role they have to do the fight, but a lot of actors, they don't consider they want to do action. Now I'm an actor, they don't want to do action. So that is the hardest thing because they don't want to do it. But the character they have to fight, whether the director or producer want they do the fight. So when they come to train them, they really pull their teeth off, because they not really want to do it. They say, I'm just acting, maybe double or something. They just don't want to do it. So that's the hardest part. It's easy is when you do the actor, this is I want to do my own stunt. They're very easy. Even they're not good with that. But because they want to do it, so it makes it easy, right? But they don't want to do it. That is very hard for me. When you're trying to convince them and make them, like some big star, Ryan Reynolds. I remember when I do Six Underground. He been doing Deadpool and he do a lot of action and he say, hey, this character, I don't even want to throw a cake, so no cake. But Michael Bay would say, I want to do the fight. But he come to me, Andy, I don't want to fight. That's the hardest part, right? So this is thing, but but in the personal hardest thing for me is, here a lot of Chinese, I'm the Chinese. So my hardest thing is when I start do my career, I decided to do stunt. That is the hardest thing for me because my father is the only son, my grandfather is the only son, and I'm the only son. And I have 3 younger sisters. My father tried to chase another boy, but it's boy, girl. So I'm the only son. And then if the Chinese people will know, my Chinese name is called Kai Chong. Kai is continue, and Chong is a family name. So when I born, it's like continue your family name. So this is my father give me the mission. So when I start to do stunt, the hardest thing is when you do stunt, you will have a chance, get hurt or die. And a true story is, I do stunt. My father never wanna do it. It's always you should not doing stunt. You don't. My father is carpenter, so he asked me, you should learn from me. I learned carpenter from my even young. I know how to do it, but I like to do movie because Jackie Chan. So then even I start doing martial art, my father said, no fighting. Why fighting? No. So I never listened to him. But the problem is that's hard for me because I know if I don't have my boy, that would be a trouble. So I remember when I do Warsaw 2, I almost killed in the one stunt. And Jackie Chan really saved me. It's a true story. So he saved me when Warsaw 2, I only had my daughter. My first kid is daughter. I remember when my daughter come and say, oh, father, mother, my parents say, I said, my daughter, Carol. My father, oh. I mean, it's the culture, you know. For them, it's had to have a grandson, you know. So my father, and then I almost killed in Warsaw 2 is 2001. My son haven't born. My son born in 2002. So I remember I underwater, I'm killing myself, and that is the biggest. I'm panicking is not because I'm dying. I never worry about that. I only have my daughter. I don't even have my son yet. I underwater, I'm thinking that because my daughter at that moment is 2 years old, and my son haven't born yet. So that is my hardest thing, my personally, because I'm the only one son. So, but I think luckily I pursue my dream. You know, I'm chasing something I believed it. And up there's someone take care of me after I'm not dying. And by the way, I got my boy, and so my parents see my parents passed away already, but they know I have my boy, so I commit my mission.
Thank you. Hardest part about you.
Yeah, well, I have a 4-year-old, so I relate to trying to raise kids is one of the hardest things that I've ever tried to do. But I'll tell you, actually, related to that, I think time management becomes super, super hard later in your career. What I found is a few years ago when I started trying to really take my career as a recording artist seriously, it also came with a lot of obligations for social media, radio interviews, getting out there, doing concerts, doing more performances, just all of this stuff that's not writing music. If you're focused more on just like scoring films or TV shows or whatever, you get to really focus on the music. You have your tasks and you got a lot of music to write and very little time to do it. And so you get to feel like a musician at all times. Half the time nowadays, I feel like a failed TikTok star. It's a very different set of expectations once you start becoming the face of your music as well. And so I'd say, in my business, just finding time to compose is super, super hard.
So as independent producers, I think one of the hardest thing is just finding the right investor for the project. It's so difficult because sometimes you will find it and sometimes you don't. And we went to so many different meetings. It's crazy. Some of them are really crazy. Some of them are really nice. There were times where we would sit down and we were having a meeting with a guy, and then I would explain, because I'm in the finance background, so I will explain everything. This is what you're going to get, blah, 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 blah. And then the guy will just look at Trevor and talk to Trevor. And then I'm like, okay, but I don't care. And he comes out just like, I am so pissed off at this guy. I'm not going to work with him. I'm not going to take his money because he didn't look at you. And I'm like, that's okay. That's what we deal with all the time. But so we had so many different stories, and Trevor went to Turkey, Kazakhstan to raise money, and we reach out to Mongolia, we're here. But somehow, sometimes it does happen, and it's like a miracle. And once it starts, oh my gosh, the work is also really crazy because there's so many ups and downs, and it's a miracle that the film is made. Do you want to add something?
I'm kind of seconding all of that, and I also can say it's difficult when you get to that point where people are coming to you as a producer and creatives come to you and they want you to help them. And I think the most difficult thing is saying no. I don't like saying no because I want people to be able to pursue their dreams, and I think like the further we go along, because we've talked about this too, is just as you're able to say yes, that makes you feel better. It's like we'd like to get to a place where we could say yes almost all the time, because that's where the real stuff is. So.
Thank you. Just a kind reminder to our speakers to, as best you can, try to keep the answers to about 2 minutes or less, just so we can try to get through more questions. But loving all the the honesty. Thank you, guys. All of you are leaders in your field. Composer, there's people working under you, showrunners, producers, there's a whole crew under you, leading lady, stunt director.
Nobody works under me.
Leave it to Kelly to keep it real. So whether in front or behind the camera, filmmaking is a collaborative art form. How do you inspire the best out of your teams or your collaborators? Leo?
I work with a partner, Eric Garcia. So we're kind of a co-show running duo. And there's something that we do on all our shows. We basically, every single person that we hire, we tell them that we have 3 rules. And our 3 rules is that we all treat each other with respect, everybody checks their egos at the door, and we all have fun. And we're like, if you want to work with us, and you want to work on one of our shows, you have to hear by those rules. And I think most people, actually everybody does, because if you don't, we fire you. People are very open to it, and I think they find it refreshing. But I think what's important about that is it lays a basic ground level, if you will, for just respect amongst everybody, so you can get creative work done, and people don't have to be divas about stuff. And I think that's probably the most important thing. And then you try to lead by example, and you treat everybody with respect, you check your own ego at the door, and you have fun.
This doesn't apply to me.
So what's the question? Sorry.
How do you inspire your team to get the best out of them?
How? I think for me it's like, whatever my team, I just tell them, look at me, like example, it's a very inspiring, because I don't speak English, I come from a different country, I survive here, so that's why I tell them, try hard and then, enjoy it, like really, I think what mostly, when I say, the people who work for me mostly is the stunt guy, right? Stunt double or whatever. But there are a lot of, I would say more than 50%, more than half, they come to me, but they are internally, they all say, they like my old dream. I want to be an action hero. I want to be actor. They don't want to be stuntman. They don't want to be stunt double. They all thinking about they can be actor. So in my side, mostly come to me, I'm opposite. I'm not inspire them to keep going. Like more than half the people, they work for me. First thing I tell them, like your 3 rule. My first rule is say, hey, what you want to do? You really want to do stunt? Or, I want to be eventually acting. Then I tell them, okay, you should quit now. You good? Because in this business, you cannot cross over. But people don't understand that. But there's a system. If you're stunt people, you very barely have a chance to change to someday suddenly I put you in leading man. It's not going to happen. And I see many stunt women, a really good example. The really stunt woman, the director loved her, playing a leading woman, leading role. But the producer, after she walk away and tell the director, say, hey, she's a stunt woman. Oh, but she can do her own stunt. She's good acting. I like her. But then the producer just shot him down and said, okay, then we pick this actress and then let's double her. That's it. So that is a true story. So then for me, is I understand, because the system, if you're picking a stunt woman to be a leading woman or leading role, if you fail, the producer will take the response. So who would do this, using their career to pick somebody not supposed to do? They would pick the actress. So this is my things that come into me. I really need to know that they really want to be a stunt or they really want to be an actor. So I will very clear to them, then I can work with them, because I don't want to waste their time, because I think I have a lot of stunt people fan, they till today, they like my age, but they still say, I want to be an actor, but they stuck on the stunt business. There's no chance, But I don't want a new generation. That's why for my new generation, first thing, the rule is, do you really know what you want to do? So that's why, how I work together, So I don't want to waste their time.
Cool.
On the music side of things, I think it's pretty simple. I think musicians just like to work with other musicians that inspire them musically. And so, I don't give inspiring, rousing speeches to my team or anything like that. I don't even pay people particularly well. I'm kind of grouchy around the studio a lot. I'm just kind of in my own head a lot. But at the end of the day, I really try to write good music as much as possible. Like every note is very, very carefully thought out. And I think there's something to be said for leading by example. And I think that's why miraculously people still want to work with me, because I try to make quality stuff, right? And I think that's kind of gets forgotten sometimes in the entertainment industry. There's this attitude of, just kind of finish it, get it out the door. Finished is better than, perfect, right? But whenever possible, I just try to maintain a love of doing really good work, is what I think.
Well, definitely try and, like they were talking about before, make sure that people know that we should have fun. But if you look at my background, I've worked on almost every part of a set you can. And I've even worked on film scores. That's actually what I did on Sergei Bodrov's Mongol. I was Tuomas Kontalinen's assistant. I've been a grip, I've been a gaffer, I've been a cameraman, I've done editing. So when I'm on a set with people, the thing that I say, if people are slacking a little bit, I'm like, if I can do it better than you, then why are you working for me? And most people respond pretty quickly when they realize that I can do the job. So, yeah.
Nice. Thank you. They say that in life and really in any profession, you have to keep learning. You have to stay curious. How, being at the stage that you're all at and the level of accomplishment, how do you stay curious? How do you stay interested?
Wow, this is so philosophical. I think you have to love what you do. I think that's really the secret. And it kind of goes back to some of my story about being a chemical engineering pre-med, right? It's I didn't love it, so I didn't really want to keep learning it, to be honest. It wasn't what I was passionate about, but I was very passionate about telling stories. I love working with actors. I love working with creative people. I was always an artsy kid. My dad was a big jock, so that was a lot. And I think the curiosity might be something that you're born with, because I just love learning stuff, and I just love feeding that. And there are people who are intellectually incurious, but I don't think I'm one of them. Yeah.
I think you're right. I think as a creative, I think you have this innate curiosity to just want to learn more and more, because no matter how much you know about the craft, it's never going to be enough. There's always so much. I always feel like I don't know anything about what I'm getting paid to do. And so I'm constantly taking classes. And so even when I was cast on my very first series, Nash Bridges, I was in San Francisco. I found an acting coach there, and while I was shooting, I was still taking acting classes. And then when I'm not working, as an actor, I'm always looking up acting classes or looking up things that I could watch that would make me a better actor. It's just, you're constantly looking for just more information to make you better at your craft. I think the key is for an actor is to not want to be a star, not want to be, in the business, but want to be the best at your craft, just the best that you can do. And I think that the business is always going to let you down, but as an actor, you can always have the craft to lean back on and enjoy.
It's kind of that thing about ego, right? Just not thinking that you're so all of... I think it's on. Is it on? It's kind of that thing about ego, right? Just not thinking that you're so all of that, and just to keep learning, and even when you book a role, you're still taking classes. So right. I think that's a good lesson.
For me, it's keep my interest is because I can see myself keep changing, my career. I start from doing stunt, and then I do coordinate and choreography, action design, or second unit action direct, and then I direct. So I can see myself like every day I have something like to learn, and it's so much to learn. It's like crazy in this business too. Besides, I good with what I'm doing. Like action direct. Doing action movie. But myself, the progression is at the end. When you're getting older, you action and then you want to be director. Something or producing. So that always have something every day. I can see myself coming up. So this is my nature. It's like if I feel something I cannot going up, I see it going downhill, then I quit. So that's just why my normal philosophy. Because when I do taekwondo, I'm really good. I fight in Hong Kong, Asian, but then I know I'm getting old, and then I know the next thing I'm going down. So that's why I walk away from taekwondo, and I focus on stunt. Then when I'm doing stunt, I see I'm doing really good stunt. I get stunt award, I'm winning something, and then I see I'm getting old, and I see I'm going down. Then I'm changing to directing. So I see myself like keep moving. If I don't see, I'm wake up. I have something to go up. I wake up, it's like getting worse and worse, and all I can say is, last year I'm very good, but now I'm sucks. So I would rather, moving on to something I can make myself wake up and exciting. So now, like even now, I'm trying to focus back to my directing, even I direct long time ago, and then later on, one of the questions about the failing. So that's kind of like, for me, my first two movies I feel is like a failing, but I'm still looking for that, So now my next thing is directing again. So then every day beside, wake up and learn a lot. And you too have a lot of things to learn. And then when you, seriously, if you want to learn filmmaking, go YouTube. There are a lot of things, but then one of the things is directing. Oh, wow, when you see all different, master, Scorsese and De Palma, many directors, they all have a different style. And you start learning how they tell stories. Like, wow, it's nonstop. It's like, I don't have enough time to watching the YouTube to try to learn those things. So that's why this business is very exciting because I'm still learning. Because every day, wow, this is when you think about tell the joke like this and somebody say no, it's different. It's like, wow, this is another way. So it's very interesting. So that's how I keep myself. Even action. I love to work with a director or producer, or they have something like, we try to do something really never been done, but there's never something never been done. So that is the problem, like in my craft, So I still consider I was trying to find something like maybe another next Marvel movie. They would say, okay, let's do something in the space and whatever, but even everything's been done. So kind of like, if you are beginning in the business, I think that would be really good because every day you have something. But if you're like me in this certain, category, long enough, maybe I feel maybe I should try something else. So that's how I keep myself, moving on.
One of the great things about music is it's such a wide field that you never know everything. You never will. If you feel like you're the master of your particular craft, there's another genre of music out there that you know nothing about. And one of the great things about working in film or any sort of entertainment product is you often get assigned to do things that are really, really outside your comfort zone, or maybe they're on your bucket list of things to do, but you only get to do it now because this particular project allows you to do it. And those are all learning opportunities. If you can check your ego in at the door and tell yourself, maybe you're not the best composer in the world, you open yourself up to learning new tricks and techniques from other people. That big band piece that you heard that kicked off Crazy Rich Asians was the first time I actually wrote a big band chart, even though I had a jazz background. As a bassist, thank you. As a bassist, I'd never actually written anything for saxophones before, and so I took lessons. I called up a friend of mine who's a jazz artist, and we spent a lot of time at the piano just working it out. And then I did a game score last year that was like an Arabic fusion of Arabic music and orchestral music, and so I took Arabic music theory lessons from a Egyptian composer. And it always it broadens your mind. It opens different ways of thinking and other things. But the challenging thing too is in the business you're also expected a lot of times to maintain a certain musical language. right? Your fans want a certain thing from you. So it's a very fine line to walk. Like, how far do I push this in pursuit of new sounds and new worlds that I want to get into while still, not like losing all of my fans in the process because they're used to a certain thing. It's a tricky juggling act.
That's a whole nother subject about branding and
With producing films, it's never, you always have to be learning because you have to kind of know about each of the departments, music, right, the acting, the stunt, just writing, just starting from knowing the script. And when you read the script, you have to know if this is a good script or not, if the plot is good, if the characters. So just the things that you have to learn as a producer or just in the entertainment industry, it's just tons. You have to keep doing it and keep watching movies, which is a cool thing that we can do. When you're watching a movie, we're not just watching a movie, we're also studying. So it's an excuse for you to, but it also inspires you. There's like certain things about the movie, even the writing or the costumes, certain things you see and you're like, oh my gosh, this is what we can use for the next movie. So it's just, you just have to keep learning. And I think that's, everyone was saying, in this industry, you have to be really curious to be, a creator. And you just get inspired and you're like, you know what, I'm going to get a book on that. I'm going to start learning that. I'm going to have to take a class on that. So I think that's just how you inspire and move forward.
Thank you. Part of the Chamber's mission for these particular events is really to focus on education, people who are young filmmakers who are interested or thinking about it or post-college and trying to get into the business. And that's part of the reason we partner with Emerson. So to that end, what advice would you give to everyone out there sitting out here today who's trying to get into the business or trying to make a name for themselves?
Sure. I think it's weird to give advice because I feel like I don't know what everybody's personal struggles are, but I can tell you what mine were. I think when I was first starting, you have to find a way to really believe in yourself as an artist and as a creative person. Because the way that society is set up, it does not support creatives or artists, right? It supports you once you're successful, and then people ask you to speak on panels, and that sort of thing, and there's like award shows and stuff. But when you're starting out, there's nothing there to catch you or to hold you. And I think that's why events like this are really important. I think that's probably why everybody agreed to speak on this panel, mostly because Nick asked them, but also because you want to make sure that events like this work and that they're there. And the community that you build, through the Chinese Chamber of Commerce, but there's other groups out there, like CAPE is a great one, the Coalition of Asian Pacific's Entertainment. I think the executive director is here, unless she left. I don't know. Oh, she's in the back taking a picture of me. That's so nice. Like when I first started, besides emailing people, like I really did not know anybody. Like I don't come from a showbiz family. I don't have showbiz connections, but I went to a CAPE event and I met people, and they were really nice. It's a really positive community. And I will say there's something about the Asian American community that is very welcoming. It's very family. There's always a lot of food, and people like to eat, and you kind of bond over that. And it's very inclusive of all the Asian cultures. And I think take advantage of that and build up your community and your friends. Like I met Kelly actually on a panel a long time ago, and we were like, just hit it off. And then I was making Afro Samurai. I was like, hey, you want to be in this? And she was like, okay, that's right. I don't know what you thought. You're like, oh, it's that crazy guy from the panel. But that's really how it is, because at the end of the day, it's really about people, and just knowing each other and helping each other.
I think when I first started in this industry, there were no organizations that were helping anybody else. It was every man for himself. And if you saw another Asian on set somehow, whether they'd be an actor or even, like a gaffer or whatever, you'd be all, oh, hey, like Asian, there was no organized community to help one another, no mentorship programs or anything like that. And now there are organizations like CAPE, like Gold House, like this, that are around to help you as a new individual coming up, looking for mentors, looking for people who can help guide you through this crazy industry. If I gave you my personal advice about like how I started, it would not apply at all because, it was a whole different time. It was pre-internet, if you can imagine that. And, at times when you could lie about things on your resume. Right? I came out here and I had one credit, which was Growing Pains, which I had, shot in Hawaii, and then I had to make up the rest. But now you cannot do that. I'm telling you right now, don't do that. Because now with the internet, everybody can, you're like, oh, shoots. Yeah, right, I saw that. You cannot do that anymore because now with the internet, everybody can, check you and, know whether or not you're telling the truth. But going into these kinds of events, panels, networking, things like that, I didn't understand how important networking was when I was first starting out. And I think as an actor, it's probably less important maybe than, every other job in the industry. But I think it still helps for sure to figure out maybe there's agents out there, maybe there's managers out there that are looking for clients. Somebody, all you need when you're starting out is one person to believe in you. One person who is willing to put themselves on the line and make those calls and be your cheerleader. Because you cannot just always be your own cheerleader, because then it's just awkward. But if you have somebody who's willing to, make those calls, come to these events, make those contacts, and then push for you because they believe in you as a product, that's the best beginning. That's the best start that you can have in this career.
Awesome.
Yeah, I really agree. If you have, lucky you find your one, really supporting you. Yeah. That's very, very difficult. I don't have one yet. I'm always self-cheerleader. Tell myself, yeah. So I think, like earlier I said, I think first thing you want to get into this business. First thing you need to find though yourself. Ask yourself. Don't ask your friend or parents. What you want to do, really ask, I want to be a star, I want to be a producer, I want to be a composer, whatever, writer. But you have to understand, first thing you have the first goal. And then eventually, your goal possibly will change. It's just like me. I try to be a stuntman, I try to be an actor, I changing, and now I try to be direct. I mean, that will be changing when you're climbing the ladder. You would go higher, you can see further. But I think, be realistic to yourself. Yeah. And this is you have to have passion. If you don't have passion, I think very hard to survive. It's not easy to get a job. There's so many out there, there's very talent, and especially we are like a little bit different where we're Chinese or Asian. So we're kind of right now is the best timing already. From my experience, never been best than now this moment, because a film movie, I think for me, I see film movie changing the whole Chinese, perspective or Asian, Crazy Rich Asian, and then Shang-Chi, and then Everywhere, Everything, all in one. So this film movie changing a lot of people about Asian, or Chinese. So this is the best timing for everyone here. I would say, if you want it, this is the moment to join into it. But you have to have a passion, You have, the first, I would say, not that many people were lucky, Simo or somebody. But even we call him lucky, but he's been a long time too. So nobody will be one day be a superstar. So you have to be stuffing. So make sure you know what you want, and then you have to just keep tell. Good thing is you can find somebody that even support you and somebody believe you. But if without that, then like I said, you have to believe yourself first, but then you also need to know it's not easy, but you have to have a passion. And that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well said.
So I agree that this is actually the best time ever to be a film composer who is not a white male. When I first got into the business, it was 99% white male, and we've made great improvements since then, and now we're only about 97% white male. So there's still room for improvement. But that said, there are a lot of organizations, and for any aspiring film composers out there, there's the Composers Diversity Collective, which does some really great things, like putting people in internships in major recording studios and things like that. And actually, I had started a small Asian composers group. If anyone wants to join, we don't do anything. I started it and realized I just do not have the time to organize any events, so we mostly just chat with each other on Slack. Find me on social media and DM me if you want to join, and we'd love to have you, and we chat about all sorts of things. But the only other thing that I'd like to add to this conversation is I've found over the years that being a good hang is a really useful skill in the business. Just being somebody that people just want to be around for days and months at a time is a really, really useful thing. Because when you're working in this business, you're just around people for a long time. It's a lot of pressure. Everyone's on edge. Deadlines, money's on the line, everything. Just being, chill, right? Like being the Ringo Starr of the group, just kind of like the mellow person who just kind of holds everything together and maybe isn't, gunning for attention with everyone else, but just as a person that you want on your team is a really useful skill.
Great advice.
Well, I would say it's really important if you want to be in this industry that you know that it's the only thing you want to do. If there's something else you want to do, I would suggest doing that. And then if you determine that this is what you want to do, you have to get used to the idea that there's going to be a lot of rejection. And I don't say that, I'm not saying that to discourage people. What I'm saying is, once you decide it's what you want to do, and you know the rejection's coming, you need to always push forward. You can't ever give up. You can't let those rejections stop you from what you want to do. You have to hold on to that and push. It can be really hard, but you have to be relentless. That's
Great. Okay, so for the next few minutes, I'd like to open it up to the floor. So we have one of our volunteers, I believe, with the mic. Yeah, we can use one. Oh.
Raise your hand if you have a question.
Here. Got it. Here. Thanks, Claudia. Oh. So do we have any questions from the audience? How about that young lady over there?
You're an excellent bartender, by the way.
I just have one simple question. You guys are talking about believing in yourself. How do you believe in yourself? How exactly? There are moments that you have doubt about yourself. How do you get through it?
Who wants to take this?
I'll take it. It's a really delicate balance between letting go of your ego and believing in yourself, right? It sounds like it's two separate things, but you actually have to do both. Because your ego is what makes you fear the failure, right? Your ego is what makes you worried about what other people are going to think if they know that you've failed so many times. So you have to let go of that ego and just keep going over and over and over, and don't allow your ego to get in the way. But you have to be confident enough with your craft. So you have to really study hard at the craft and know what you're doing, so that you don't have to put all your value, all your self-worth on the casting director, or the director or the producer who rejects you, because that is not who you are. You know, your worth is knowing what you're doing and knowing the craft and knowing that you are good enough, even if it's not for this job, for the next and next and next. Just finding that all the time.
How about this young man over here?
Thank you so much. This question's for Christopher. First of all, thank you for making some of the music.
A little closer to the mic, Chris.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. For Christopher, thank you so much for making the music for Civ 6. We played a lot of, me and my friends played a lot of board games, but when the pandemic hit, Civ 6 was kind of like the online version of the board game that we can like play. My question to you is there any plans in the future for creating that Asians or Asian American centric Broadway musical? And like what would be kind of like a general story that you can think of?
You know, actually, what I've got my sights set on right now is opera.
Wow.
I've been approached by a major opera company, and we are working out the deal right now for me to do my first opera commission. So I got to hurry up and study up some opera. But actually, one of my interests is actually diversifying the language pool within the opera genre. And a big opera star that I work with, his name is Penne Patti. He's the next Pavarotti, I swear to God. Amazing tenor. He sings on my last album. And he is Samoan.
Wow.
And he's from New Zealand. And he has always wanted to have an opera written in Maori.
Wow.
As a way of, preserving Maori cultural heritage and expanding, preserving the language, really. And I love that idea. So,
You mean opera in Olelo, Hawaiian?
no, in Maori, Te Reo Maori.
In Maui, but
It's sung in Maori, yeah.
Oh, Maui.
Maori, yeah.
I understood
With haka.
Maui. Anybody else
No.
understood Maui? Sorry, I'm from Hawaii.
Maori. Maybe we'll set it in Maui. Maori's in Maui is what it will be.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's I'm looking forward to it. I know a little bit about Maori musical traditions. I've met with some Maori musicians, collaborated with some. Like there's a really beautiful history of oratory in Maori culture. Hakas, whakareros, things like that. I look forward to exploring that more and just adding a little more culture to otherwise very European-dominated art forms.
Thank you.
How about this gentleman over here, right in front of you? It's on the other side of the pillar. Yeah.
Hi. So, as a creative, we were talking about rejection and believing in yourself. I feel like that no matter what you're in, whether it's producing, acting, show running, action sequences, composing, right? Like it's very easy to, in the midst of all that, get burnout and all that jazz, right? And so, I remember I was watching one of my favorite shows, 30 Rock. And they have this excellent episode where Jack Donaghy, he has to think of a new idea, so he employs his quote-unquote shower method, right? Which is basically, I'm going to not think about the problem at all. I'm going to take a shower, and somehow the creative inspiration is going to come to me right there, right? And so I'm just curious on what your guys' individual shower methods are, right? How do you guys find your inspiration, possibly from a more unconventional path or the like?
The shower method works great for me. I'm going to pass this on to somebody else. Anyone else?
I kind of do. So there's two great pieces of advice that I use for writing. I don't know if they're great. They're great for me. The first one was from Winnie Holtzman. Do you guys know Winnie Holtzman? She wrote Wicked and My So-Called Life. She told me, get rid of your dishwasher and wash your dishes by hand. So I did. And I always wash my dishes by hand. I got dish gloves because my fingernails are cracking after a while. But just doing something else that you're not really thinking about too much opens stuff up. And the other thing that works for me is what Steve Martin does, actually, when he writes, which he tries not to write. He actively tries not to write. And he's like, I will do anything else but write. And after a while, he's just like, oh my God, I have to write this thing down. and like things start coming to you. I think you just have to give yourself a break, and just let your subconscious work and help you find your creative spirit.
I think, like you said, doing something completely unrelated to what you're trying to do, like reading up a book on a completely different industry, or, just getting out there and just living, exactly, and just forget about everything and just living and being really there, and something just comes to you sometimes, not all the time.
Go ahead, Kelly. No, you've got something else.
No, I was just going to say that there's actually something like neurologically that happens, right? When you're doing something by rote that you do all the time, that you don't have to think about, that opens up this creative part in your brain, right? Like that's why people get so many ideas in the shower, because you don't have to think about what you're doing in the shower. You've done it so many times, so you're thinking about all these other things in your day, right? I'm always finding myself swearing in the shower because I think about all the terrible things I've done in my life. Anyway, and then so I find that for me, what works best, if I have to learn dialogue or break things down, figure out this character or whatever, I find that my most creative brain happens on the freeway when I'm driving. So sometimes I'll be memorizing dialogue while I'm driving. That for me is like, I don't know, like mental open awakeness. And that's probably not good for my driving record, but it works for me.
I just wanted to address the burnout aspect of your question real quick, actually. I go through a burnout every 5 years or so, like clockwork. And I find that in this business, very rarely are you the final determiner of when a thing is done or how a creative thing should be. You're almost no matter who you are, you're almost always answering to somebody else. So I find that whatever your craft is, whether it's acting, writing, music, whatever it is, to have side projects that are 100% your own passion projects really helps keep that love of your craft alive and pure and untouched by anyone else. That's what gets me through my burnout.
That's a good one. Andy, I have a question for you.
Yes. Very serious.
So, a lot of things in popular culture are very repetitive and derivative, and they just start copying off of each other, like popular music, fashion. How do you, just with the hundreds of fight scenes and stunts and things that you've had to imagine and choreograph, how do you make sure your ideas stay fresh and you're not copying off of yourself?
Okay. I think, like earlier Chris said, is exactly as the answer is that you always answer for somebody. You always help somebody. It's, even I'm doing action, but I'm not the one can decide it. There's the producer, there's a script, and then the director. They always have someone will overlook what you're doing. Even I'm the one, the creative, but I cannot I would say, I know what would be done. So when I do it, I know this. I saw that before. I know this, and I know this is from that movie. So because this is my craft. A lot of action, you just show me the clip, I right away would know which movie, where from who. So this is my thing. So to keep everything fresh is like I'm doing something. I try to think. I never really think about this situation have this fight scene or this kind of movement. So that's how and then they always have some kind of movement. It's very funny in the past 30 years. I see. Sometimes they like a fashion, like some few years suddenly everything is happened. They happen to people, and suddenly everything is scissor cake. They put the people and then swing the girl. So you will see that. So that's my craft. Like when I see those, like my first thing is no. So my mind is like, I don't know how to create. I don't know what would be the first. What would be the fresh, but I know what is been done. So that's my things that I will walk away from those things. Only I think in the creative side you can do is if the move is the same, but maybe you're changing the element. maybe the move the same, the element same, and then you're changing, the pattern. Something had to be fresh, not like La La Land is a very good example. Like when I see La La Land, wow, that's a great movie, and then suddenly someone tell me, oh, this is salute to this, salute to this. Oh, wow. I said, wow, big movie, but the Oscar, So I don't know, you copy or you doing something like a salute or, how much is good. But for me, I'm trying to avoid something when I see it, I already know it's been done. So that would be only craft I can say I can do, but I have to be producer, director, writer. Sometimes we have the all in sync. It's not just one guy you can changing them. Sometimes the director have, I want to do this. You have to. So I think like what Chris says is like you have to have your own craft, something like your personal project. Yeah. So like I have it, right? So I don't hear anyone. I do what I want. Yeah. So but that's the only very small chance in the business when you work for a studio or anyone. As so many people will tell you what they want you to do. So only thing you can do is maybe independently find an independent producer, independent money, and then your personal project, then you can possibly do what you want. That's my answer.
I want to point out that what you do is not just choreography. When you are choreographing a stunt or a fight scene, there is a story that goes on within the fight scene. So any good fight scene has a story that's being told amongst the fighters, amongst who is dominating over what part, and it's more than just kicks and punches. So that's why I think a lot of times you see action directors who are able to tell stories through their stunts later become directors, because it's also, it's also sort of the same idea, but then with words.
Yeah, so like what Kelly says, exactly. Like a lot of people think fight scene or action is like punching and kick, but that's a lot more than that. There's always have the storytelling. Always have a character. You have to know this character, what's the background, why he would do that, or why she would do this, and then also the storytelling is besides just punching and kick, like the situation. I learned this. My skill, like I come from Jackie Chan. I learned from him. He's really interesting. Now even today. The movie on screen right now is called Bullet Train, right? So they do the fight scene, but no matter how you do, when you're fighting, not punching and kick, you're fighting with chair and fighting a table, that all credit go to Jackie Chan. So that's the influence by Jackie Chan. So that's how smart Jackie Chan is. He always creates something, not just punching and kick. So that's how I learned. And then Fresh is like punching and kick is only have not that many different. You can, but the situation and then the object or the element or the music, they all can changing everything. The rhythm. So that could be part of the action design.
Right, and also keeping the actors in mind.
Absolutely.
I think some of the best stunt people that I've ever seen work not only can do the kicking and the punching and all that kind of stuff, the jumping, leaping over stuff, but they also study the actor that they are doubling. Yeah. And they will mimic your walk and the way you move. And that's how like somebody who really is great at their job is not just somebody who can, do the fall. They can actually imitate you physically. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're amazing, amazing.
Yeah, it's just like white, music, and they all have the little different thing, but a lot of people will not really realize that, but in the professional side, they have something is very specific. So for me, as an action guy, that's why I'm saying we're looking very small clip, we right away know where this come from or what style. That's something like they do music, they know what this instrument from, so that kind of similar concept.
Thank you. Okay, so that can we give it up one more time for our amazing speakers tonight? So this is going to conclude the screening and the speaker Q&A portion. After this, we can all go back outside and enjoy, mingle, drink. There's still food. I did just want to remind everyone that these events are, what you experienced tonight, this is the very heart of what we're trying to do, is we're trying to educate, we're trying to promote visibility, we're trying to encourage and excite and inspire the next generation from our current leaders in the industry. To that end, you'll notice outside there are QR codes that are in placards in all the tables. If you just hold your phone camera up to them, it'll bring up membership. We encourage you to sign up. There is a lot of events that the Chamber does. We have monthly mixers. We have events such as this. We have screenings. We have comedy shows. We have different events for fashion, entrepreneurs. So it's basically, we will provide your entire social calendar for the rest of this year and the next. And today is also the last day to sign up, where you get 50% off. So if there's any interest, if you just want to be our friends, then I would encourage to sign up. So again, thank you everyone, and